His captain's one out.
It's time for all Essendon supporters to don the sash and make a stand together. Call 1300 GO BOMBERS or visit membership.essendonfc.com.au today.
Well, surely the Bombers open their season tomorrow up at Metricon Stadium against the Gold Coast Suns. It's a fairly obvious question first up, I suppose, but can the Bombers win this one?
Well, if they're not going to get on a plane believing they can win, don't go. Please don't go. But let's look at the intricate details of both sides and let's try and see where Essendon can win the game. Because there's been a lot of gloom and doom about, even to the point of people saying, will they rest players against Essendon? Bit disrespectful, but sort of understandable in a way given the long season. Gold Coast are going to go in with their midfield severely depleted. No Prestia, no O'Meara, no Swallow, and with Gary Ablett, the great Gary Ablett, with a toe injury, hasn't done a lot of practice match. So I'm just looking at that midfield and saying, well, the bottom line to me is that Essendon can break even in the midfield. There's no doubt about that. And maybe we have to see the old veteran, sorry Krause, but the old veteran turn back the clock and sit on Gary Ablett and just take that option out. You're not going to stop Gary Ablett having a good game, but you might be able to stop him having a great game, and that's going to be really important. So I'd go after Ablett. I know people have said that all the time, but it's really important given those players in the Gold Coast that are injured and unavailable.
What about in attack for the Bombers? Joe Danaher played his best game in the NAB Challenge against West Coast. How do the Bombers kick a winning score?
Well, that's going to be important. There's two phases to their forward line. Obviously, Danaher and Stephen May, the most improved fullback, young fullback in the competition, is going to have a great battle, and that will have a bearing. McKernan's important as a lead-up centre-half forward. So the Danaher-May contest is going to be very, very important.
What about up the other end of the ground?
I like the way they've moved Ambrose back to the back line. He was a good, solid, strong hit-up centre-half forward, played a really good role. So if he can go back there and play with the same aggression and competitiveness, that's going to be important. We've spoken about how they've tried to add some pace and some run to the back line. That's going to be important. My preference is for Brown up forward, but I don't think we can get away with it. I don't think Essendon have the luxury of moving Brown out of defence, even though he's a very, very good forward player. We've seen in the NAB Cup where he started back and went forward. I'm not sure we have the options. Gould's going to be important, experience, laying off, protecting the hole in front of the full forward. So he's a very, very important option at this stage of his career.
So they're just one or two things that if Essendon can get right, they'll be right there towards the end of the game?
Right, the first thing I would look at is obviously we've discussed the midfield. The other side of the coin that's going to be so important over the course of the game. Remember, it's going to be warm, it's a big ground, and Gold Coast are known for their running. It's a little bit of concern that a number of the boys haven't done a 4-month pre-season. So the longer the game goes, I feel Gold Coast will get their run going. It's very important to remain in the game. How do they remain in the game? You've got to stop Sard running off the half-back line. You've got to stop McKenzie's kicking, Malcheski and Harbrow. Now, if I give you one common denominator about them, is they're all left-footers. They've got a natural switch of play and they run. I looked at the team and Craig Bird he's been solid in the midfield, but he played some great games for Sydney as a defensive forward because he's smart and he can kick goals. Maybe he goes to Sard, and on the other half-forward flank you can have Stokes, I would say. So that gives you two experienced half-forward flankers. Not only can win the ball and are dangerous when the ball's at ground level, they do understand defensive pressure. And this is what this game's going to be about. If Essendon can press up, contain the run, put the pressure on those blokes like Malcheski, who had a bad year last year, get into it early, get into him early, stop him distributing the ball out. That's going to be the most significant part of this game. How Essendon not only kick goals, obviously, but they curtail the natural run and the distribution of the ball at the Gold Coast halfback flank. So how Essendon set up in their press and their defensive organisation once they go into the forward line will be the key to this game, because I honestly believe we're going to at least break even in the midfield.
Do you see Joe Danaher and Sean McKernan staying forward, or will they have to spend time in the ruck?
I get a feeling the longer Danaher and McKernan can stay inside the forward 50, the better off Essendon will be. But you can't take two ruckmen, unfortunately, because this game will be won in the second half. Instead of having a ruckman on the bench, they've got to have a runner. They've got to have a versatile player. I'd like to see maybe like a young kid like a Parish who's got a huge work rate be introduced after half time. So I think the ruck situation will be one ruckman. Keep your fingers crossed they get through the game, because the longer Danaher and McKernan can stay up forward with a little bit of pinch hitting in the ruck, I think the better off we'll be of kicking a winning score.
Well, Shorey, we really look forward to watching it all unfold. Thank you so much for your insights, and we'll enjoy speaking to you next week.
Well, I hope it unfolds like that, doesn't it? Don't we?